Look, things inside Airline Drive are moving fast today, and the front office just made a definitive statement about the future of this defensive line. You need to pay close attention, because this move tells us exactly how the team views their long-term development strategy, despite some up and down numbers we have seen lately. Before we dive into the specific financial impact and the internal reasoning behind this choice, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. We are bringing you the deepest Saints coverage you will find anywhere online. Now, let us break down this massive news coming out of New Orleans. Brian Bresee is officially remaining in New Orleans through at least the 2027 season after the Saints formally exercised his fifth-year contract option today. This was the deadline move many expected, but the context behind it is what makes it truly fascinating for the black and gold. Since being drafted as the 29th overall pick back in 2023 out of Clemson, we have seen flashes of absolute dominance from him. He has racked up 16 sacks over his first 3 professional campaigns, showing that he can be a legitimate force as a pass rusher when he is healthy and in the right scheme. However, the decision comes at a time when his statistical progression has hit a bit of a wall. In the 2025 season, we saw a regression that caught the eyes of analysts and scouts alike. His Pro Football Focus grade dipped to a 52.9, which is far from the elite status the team hoped for when they turned in that card on draft night. The team is now on the hook for a fully guaranteed $13.93 million for that 2027 season. Because he did not hit specific playing time incentives or earn any Pro Bowl honors, this salary actually sits at the lowest possible tier for a fifth-year option. It is a calculated risk for a player who has shown he can play both on the edge and inside at the 3 technique. The Saints are betting that the versatility and those 16 sacks are more representative of his ceiling than the low-efficiency grades we saw recently. They are locking him in now to avoid a massive spike in cost if he explodes next year. But here is the real question that everyone inside the building is asking right now. Is this move about his actual on-field production today? Or is it a desperate attempt to stabilize a defensive line that has struggled with consistency for years? The answer lies in how they plan to utilize him moving forward under this new defensive philosophy. And there is one specific person whose career is now tied to this specific outcome. This is a massive gamble on potential versus production for the Saints defense. Do you think Bresee is worth $14 million fully guaranteed despite his recent regression? Drop a comment below and let me know if you trust this vision. We are checking all your responses right now. Mickey Loomis is the man behind this decision, and it reveals a lot about the current mindset of the Saints front office regarding their draft philosophy. When you talk to people around the league, the fifth-year option is often seen as a litmus test for a general manager's success with first-round picks. By exercising this option on Bresee, Loomis is buying himself and the coaching staff 2 more years of evaluation before having to commit to a massive long-term extension that could exceed $20 million per year. My sources tell me that the team still views Bresee as a cornerstone piece despite the PFF grades not reflecting that sentiment. The internal data suggests his pressure rate remains high, even when the sacks don't show up in the box score. Loomis is notorious for managing the cap in creative ways, and by securing Bresee at the $13.9 million mark, he is essentially setting a fixed cost for a starting caliber defensive lineman in a market where prices are skyrocketing. If Bresee returns to his early career form, this contract will look like an absolute steal by the time 2027 rolls around. If he continues to struggle, it becomes another fully guaranteed burden on a cap sheet that is already notoriously tight. There was internal debate about whether to wait or let him play out his 4th year first, but Loomis decided that the risk of losing him or paying a premium later was too high. They value his ability to shift outside on certain packages, giving the defense a level of flexibility that is hard to find in the draft or free agency. This move is a vote of confidence from the top floor of the facility, but it also puts immense pressure on the player to perform immediately. The front office has done its part by providing the security, but now the defensive staff has to find a way to get that PFF grade back into the 70s. The implications of this deal go far beyond just one player's bank account. It sets the tone for how the Saints will handle their upcoming young core and their limited resources in the coming years. When we look at the broader landscape of the New Orleans Saints roster, this decision to keep Brian Bresee locked in represents a critical pivot point for the franchise's identity. The defensive line has been the heartbeat of this team for a decade, dating back to the prime years of Cameron Jordan. As those legendary figures age out, the organization is desperate to find the next generation of leadership in the trenches. By guaranteeing nearly $14 million to Bresee, the Saints are essentially naming him the successor to that mantle. This creates a ripple effect throughout the entire locker room and the salary cap. It tells the other young players that if you show flashes of elite talent, the team will reward you and stick by you even during statistical slumps. However, the coaching staff is now under the microscope. They have to fix the technical issues that led to his regression in 2025. We are hearing that there might be changes in how the defensive tackles are rotated, potentially giving Bresee more favorable matchups against slower guards to maximize his explosive first step. If the Saints cannot get him back to being a double-digit sack threat, the defensive identity of this team will continue to slide toward mediocrity. Looking ahead to 2026 and 2027, having Bresee's cost controlled allows Mickey Loomis to potentially be more aggressive in the trade market or free agency to find a complementary edge rusher. It provides a level of roster certainty that is rare in New Orleans these days. But let us be clear about the stakes. If Bresee does not improve his consistency and his ability to hold up against the run, this guaranteed money will hinder the team's ability to fix other glaring holes on the roster. The margin for error in the Big Easy is thinner than ever, and this move effectively doubles down on the 2023 draft class being the engine that drives this team back to the postseason. We are looking at a future where the defense must carry the load while the offense finds its footing, and Bresee is now officially the man in the middle of that plan for the foreseeable future. Ultimately, the decision to exercise the fifth-year option on Bryan Bresee is a high-stakes gamble that defines the current era of Saints football. It is a move that prioritizes potential and historical flashes over recent analytical struggles, proving that the front office still believes in their scouting process above all else. For the fans, this is a moment of both relief and anxiety. On one hand, you keep a young, versatile pass rusher with 16 career sacks on a relatively affordable deal. On the other hand, you are committing a significant portion of your future cap space to a player who took a noticeable step back last season. This is the reality of life in the NFL, where you have to pay for what a player can become, not just what he did yesterday. The meaning of this move is simple. The Saints are not hitting the reset button on their defensive philosophy. They are leaning into it. They believe that Bresee's versatility and raw power are rare traits that cannot be easily replaced in the current market. If they are right, this will be remembered as a masterstroke of roster management by Mickey Loomis. If they are wrong, it will be cited as another example of being too loyal to underperforming draft picks while the championship window continues to close. This is a defining moment for the defensive line and the franchise as a whole as they transition into a new chapter of Saints history. I want to hear from the Who Dat Nation tonight. Is this the right move for the long-term health of the team? Or should the Saints have waited to see more from Bresee before handing out $14 million in guarantees? Your voice matters in this discussion, so let us get the conversation started in the comments section below. Make sure you don't leave without subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell so you never miss a single update on your New Orleans Saints. We will be right here covering every practice, every move, and every internal report as they happen. Thank you for watching, and keep your eyes on the facility because this offseason is just getting started. See you in the next one.